folks. Sorry, I'm going to adjust this camera here. I'm in Louisiana, and it is not Dawn Busters because it's still dark, so it's just an overnight taste challenge. I have 2 Canadian blended whiskeys. Well, I'm going to show the older brand first. The Northern Lights. Turn off the lamp for that one. The Northern Lights. And it even makes like a aurora borealis when the light hits it. It's kind of neat. Introduced in 1971, but originally called the Northern Light, singular, but now it's the Northern Lights, plural. Canadian whiskey with natural flavors. Great. Premium, of course. Everything's premium. No age statement with either one of these. I forgot to put that. Bottled by Barton Brands, Kentucky, and then it says since 1879. Well, that was Hiram Walker, an old company. They still have a Hiram Walker distillery in Canada, but it's owned by a different company called Corby today. But and then Hiram Walker got by Barton Brands, and then Barton Distilling Company sold their whole company was sold to the Sazerac Company in 2009. Okay, so that's how it goes to these ownership changes. Here is Master Distillers blended Canadian whiskey, introduced in 2025, so it's a new one, from Collingwood Distillery, owned by the Sazerac Company in Canada. And it's talking about Danny Kahn, the master distiller who used to be at Barton 1792 Distillery, and he got transferred up to Canada, obviously. And I think this is produced by I.W.A. Distilling Company Limited, Real Cork, for Walmart. It seems that way, but I can't really prove that. It might just be something that they carry, but I get the impression that it's a Walmart brand, but I can't say that definitively. So let's say probably. But I might turn around next week and see it in another store, you know. $14.96. Now, both amber. One's a little lighter. The Northern Lights is a little lighter. Put that lamp on, and I got a bigger lamp, stronger lamp. Got a problem. Let's see what the problem happens to be. Probably mainly the kitten fighting through the wire. I saw the light, the connection was there, but I figured it would fail eventually. Yeah, that's the next project, I guess. Buying a new ring lamp. Let me see if it's plugged in all the way. I had a feeling it would fail down the road. Let's see. Get away. Okay, get off that carpet. Get off those wires. Okay, well, guess that'll be the next expense. I did a recorded video for came back on, but I don't think it's going to last. Don't you touch the wires. If you touch the wires, you're getting put out. No, come on. I know you can't help it because you're a kitten. Come on, get out of here. Go chase your sock. She won't chase it for long. All right. Hello, Daniel Sanders. All right, Sander. No age statement for either. No age statements. Most of the Canadian whiskeys, I noticed they don't have an age statement. Some do, some don't, most don't. Okay, that seems a little better on me. Okay, I think I got it. Now I'll show you the website. So they're showing Master Distillers Kentucky Straight Bourbon. There's vodka, the Canadian whiskey I have, and a Reposado tequila. Well, that's only 4, so I'm thinking that expand that line. $14.96. That's a deal, huh? Okay, coming all the way from Canada. They talk about Danny Kahn, the master distiller. There's a, Canadian whiskey old fashioned. There's the label on you. MD, master distiller, small batch. I don't know about small batch Walmart, but see, he's got a Barton 1792 distillery shirt. So that's telling me he came from there and he got sent to Canada. Well, that's no problem because Sazerac owns Barton 1792 and Sazerac owns two distilleries in Canada, Collingwood and Old. They used to show the old bottle, say the Northern Light. Oh, they're saying the Northern Light, but it's Northern Lights, as you can see on the bottle. I have a glass bottle, but they used to sell it around here, but I guess it didn't really move because I noticed the stores dropped it around here. Oh, well. Now, Jeff Lyons, Pub of Lions over there in Vermont, up there in Vermont, he's on right close to the Canadian border, and he's telling me, you get more Canadian whiskeys in Louisiana than we get, and we're right by Canada. He says, amazing. We get like 5. Crown Royal, of course, Canadian Club, Canadian Mist, the 5 Black Velvet, stuff like that. But all these other things, he said, I don't ever see him. Daniel says, hope you're having a good Sunday. I'm trying to, it's been a tough 24 hours because the computer broke yesterday, the other one I had. I should have done a system reset, but it was some kind of problem. Hewlett Packard, and I've heard people say they're not that good, but I paid a lot of money for it. 3 years, only 3 years it lasted. I don't know, something happened. I was checking for viruses. Microsoft Defender says there's nothing wrong there. I called the cable, the internet provider. No, everything's good on our end. Your modem's fine. Everything's cool. I said it's internal, and I kept trying all day. Man, I could not get the internet to work. It would barely work. Had no speed. I said, nah, something's wrong with this thing. So I had to go to Walmart and get a whole new thing. And I asked the lady, they had some with the screen with it all together. She said, I wouldn't buy that because if the screen goes bad, you got to get a new system. And if the system goes bad, you got to get a new screen. You got to get them both. She says, better to have the tower and this monitor separate because if one goes out, you don't have to replace the other. I said, that's good thinking. And this monitor is only 2 years old or less than 2 years, about 2 years old. So it should have a lot of life on it. Okay. So yesterday I had to do a recorded taste challenge with Royal Canadian from 1934. So I'm going to upload that in a little while. It's an 18-minute video. It's going to take a little while to upload it. But I couldn't tell them apart. I could not tell Master Distillers from Royal Canadian. They're both from the same company. They might be very similar. I'm not saying it's the same whiskey repackaged, but you never know with these things, right? I don't think I'll confuse the Northern Lights with Master Distillers, though. So I did not want to. You just can't leave the cotton alone. See, she has all these toys, but she goes after the potpourri and this cotton plant. I picked cotton in North Louisiana one time, some twigs of it with all the cotton balls on it, like a souvenir from North Louisiana, because they don't grow cotton around here. They grow sugarcane. No, she wants to shred it apart and chew on the cotton and play with it. Sunday AM beer says, good morning, Mr. Terrio. Sunday AM beer. Okay. Good morning to you. All right. And I lost some of my photos when I had to change the computer, but they weren't that important. And I couldn't even do the email. It wouldn't even work. Couldn't even get it to come up. So hopefully I get a many years out of this one. Over the years, the most I ever got was 5. After 5 years, they just start deteriorating. They don't work. Then they'll change the system. You have Microsoft 10, Windows 10. It's not going to work. Got to get 11. And then they're going to change it to 12, and then you'd be stuck. All right. Aroma, nah, no difference. No, nothing happening there. Maybe a little yeast there, like a little musty yeast from bread. Taste time, cheers. Yeah. Just straight up standard whiskey flavor. Grain, a little bite from the alcohol. Grain, just think of like corn, a little rye spice. There might be some barley, malted barley in there, maybe 5%, what they call single malt whiskey in Scotland. Well, honestly, it tastes kind of like Crown Royal, and Crown Royal is much more than $14.96 a bottle. I know that. So maybe Crown Royal's not too happy with them selling this, and they probably don't care. Meaning Diageo is not happy with it. Okay, I get that nuttiness. Johnny Neely says almost like to add an almond extract. Well, he may not be wrong because, Canadian whiskey is allowed to have flavoring. It has to be natural flavoring. Can't use artificial flavors. But Canadian whiskey is allowed to have natural flavors added and coloring. They can add caramel color and make it darker. And they don't have to put it on the label. Label disclosure is not required. Now, Sazerac, I noticed whatever alias they're using, Barton, I.W.A. Distilling, the Founders Company, Legacy Distilling, Buffalo Trace, they use Glenmore, Fleischmann's, they use all these aliases, but usually because it's companies they bought, you see. Wide world importers. They're pretty good about putting it. Like Sazerac, they'll tell you Canadian whiskey with natural flavors. That's a courtesy. It's not required. You don't have to do it. They're just doing it, which is nice. A nice thing to do. But almond extract would be a natural flavor, right? But I've read that they usually use wine as flavoring, even straight bourbon from Kentucky or whatever. But because it's a flavoring, it's a whiskey. But wine is a wine, obviously not a whiskey. But sherry. If you ever drink cream sherry, it has a nutty flavor. It tastes almost like almond-ish. And I was reading the Canadian regulations. There's no specification on natural flavor. It just said natural flavors. That's it. It used to have a requirement. It couldn't go above 9.09% alcohol or 9.09% of the volume. The new regulations say nothing about that. It just says may contain natural flavors and caramel color. End of sentence. So when John Anile says, with Georgia Beer Reviews, although he lives in Massachusetts now, when he says almond extract, he may not be wrong. Although I think it's probably cream sherry, which is common. It's not hard to get that. And probably a very cheap one, not Harvey's Bristol Cream, which would probably be too strong of a flavor, such a luxurious flavor. This is more standard Canadian whiskey, like a Crown Royal. I think they're trying to mimic at first I thought they were trying to mimic a bourbon, but it doesn't have that charred oak really. So I think I was wrong, off track on that. But if they're trying to mimic the flavor of Crown Royal, that could be the key to the riddle. Are a lot of Crown Royal drinkers going to jump over to Master Distillers? I seriously doubt it. But you have a few, economy buyers. They'll buy it, but they probably weren't drinking Crown Royal to start with. They were probably buying an economy brand like Canadian Limited. I was at Walmart yesterday. I had to go to get the computer, new system, which is so irritating. But that's why you should have a savings account, people. But $7.92 for Canadian Limited. True story over there. Or was it Rich and Rare? It was one of those two. Those are both inexpensive Sazerac brands. But one of them was still $7.92. I said, man, they are low. They are probably selling it almost at cost. You can sell stuff below cost in Louisiana, but then you can't sell it again for a year. This is what a distributor told me. He said, you could do that. You could sell it for $1, but then you couldn't sell it again for an entire year. Now, I don't know how they're going to regulate that. You know, how's the state of Louisiana liquor control or law enforcement going to, I mean, he could do it. They could audit it, but I don't see that happening. They were talking about regulations yesterday on the news, on the radio, saying, yeah, we have these regulations. All the seafood has to be from Louisiana unless you say this is imported seafood from outside of the state. But then the man on the radio was Department of Agriculture was said, but how do you enforce it? You know, we got all these, we don't have enough people to go around and check on that. We can spot check it. If we catch them, give them a fine, but it's really impossible to enforce. It's like you can't be on your cell phone in the car. I mean, yeah, it's illegal, but how is it enforced? In reality, it really isn't. It can't be. Not in any practical way. Daniel says, personally, I think everything that has been added to a product should be labeled. I agree with that. Well, I don't think it should be a rule, but I agree they ought to do it. It'd be nice, but you know, they don't. Only right for a consumer to have that knowledge, information. I agree with that. And I think Sazerac is shooting straight. I like their approach. They're going to put it on there. They'll just put it, rum with natural flavors. They're not trying to hide behind a law that protects them for not having to disclose that, because you don't have to put that on rum. You can add flavor into rum, not required to put it on there. Okay. But they do it. And the other companies need to get on board and do it. I'm not saying the government should make them do it, but I'm saying they should do it. It'd be nice, but you know, they ain't going to. They're doing that a lot with beer these days. You notice all these ales with natural flavors masquerading as an IPA, but they put it real small on the side of the can, so you don't really notice that. You don't notice that they're fiddling with the flavor by adding stuff to it. Why are they adding natural flavor to all these Voodoo Ranger and other St. Arnold and other IPAs? Obviously, they're doing it to make it taste better. They're not doing it to make it taste worse. You agree? Thank you. All right. So I got to get out of here to go turn on the news, you know. I still got to walk half a mile. It's amazing that this kitten would rather play with like a little piece of a plant, like basically a nut casing, like a walnut shell. She loves playing with that, but like a real cat toy, nah, that's just a toy. Huh? I could play with a walnut shell all day. I'll just play with it all night. Last night I caught her playing with a thumbtack though. And I say, oh no, can't play with a thumbtack. That's dangerous. You stick yourself. All right, but anyway, y'all take care. Oh, I didn't disclose it, but I know it. I know I got it right. This is the Northern Lights. Yes, very obvious, very obvious. Now, is it better or worse? I would say the Master is still a little more authentic, a little better quality, but you know, that's a personal preference issue, honestly. I would rather get the Master Distillers, but I'm cool with Northern Lights. The Northern Lights is good. Give it a B plus, about an 88. Master Distillers, I think I'd give it an A minus, about a 92 or lower, something like that. Y'all take care now. Bye-bye, everybody.